Chapter 81, The Little Deer is About to Faint. After hearing the discussion of the people at the other table, Ning Xi's heart was beating like a drum. Brother, if you have something to say, say it properly. How are you able to tell that Liu Tingxiao is looking at me differently? Furthermore, with the eyes of a loving husband? Hehe, maybe that guy's eyes aren't too good. Ning Xi coughed drily as she spoke to Liu Tingxiao. Ning Xi had just finished speaking, when she saw that woman nod in agreement. You're right, it really is. When you look closely at the little boy, although he looks a lot like his dad, his eyes are very similar to his mum's, especially when he smiles. Ning Xi was about to go into depression after hearing this. That lady's eyes might not be too good either. How could the little bun look like her? She's not the little bun's mother. Without batting an eyelid, Liu Tingxiao glanced at the girl's eyes. Actually, they really were pretty alike. He had noticed previously, that when Little Treasure smiled, his brows and air were quite similar to Ning Xi's. If it was just a coincidence, it was quite a happy fate. This brief interlude passed quickly. After settling down into their seats, Ning Xi let out a sigh of relief. Ah! It's the most enjoyable feeling when you eat hot pot in an air-conditioned place in summer. Darling Little Treasure, I swear you'll fall in love with this feeling. This was the first time that the little bun had gone out for a meal in 2 years. He was curious towards everything, and looked about everywhere. However, it was only when his little hand was held in Ning Xi's hand that he would remain calm. Ning Xi flipped through the menu, then asked Liu Tingxiao for his opinion. You can't eat spicy food, so let's order a hot pot with spicy and non-spicy soups. You decide. Liu Tingxiao nodded, took off his coat, and let his arm rest casually on the back of the seat. It was an extremely normal action, but when he did that, he seemed to exude pheromones, causing Ning Xi to feel like a little deer was bumping around in her heart. Pub Future ads. She didn't know what had happened recently. It seemed like incidents like this were happening even more frequently. The little deer in her heart was about to faint from bumping about too much. Was Liu Tingxiao doing that on purpose or not? Very quickly, the soup base and dishes they had ordered arrived. Ning Xi tossed everything to the back of her head in favor of appeasing her hunger. The great demon King Liu was rather strict in the way he ate hot pot. He had everything calculated perfectly, from the order of the items to place in the hot pot, to how long it would take for that particular item to cook. Furthermore, he was regularly serving her and the little bun the whole time. It was even more professional than the time they had eaten hot pot at her home. Ning Xi had never eaten such a worry-free hot pot before. All she had to do was focus on eating. Every item was cooked to perfection, not like how she would accidentally cook items for too short or too long a time. Are you working with Mui on the same set? While eating, Liu Tingxiao suddenly asked a question. Ning Xi stared blankly for a moment before she reacted. Zhang Mui was the hot young guy who was one of the main pillars for Golden Age, and he was also Liu Tingxiao's nephew. It wasn't strange that Liu Tingxiao knew of his situation. Thus, she nodded. Yeah, he entered the set today. Actually, I only knew of it today. I was shocked to see him. Liu Tingxiao placed a fish ball in her bowl. He said in a careless tone, Are you good friends? Ning Xi scratched her head, but felt that there was nothing to hide, thus she answered honestly, The relationship between us is a little hard to explain. We dated for some time, but we've already broken up for a very long time. Right now, we're friends. However, I'm guessing that we're not even going to remain friends very soon. That fellow started pulling all sorts of hate to me the moment he came back. He's almost killing me. If he bullies you, tell me. Liu Tingxiao said. Ning Xi smiled and said, Haha, that won't happen. In the movie, I'm always bullying him in our scenes. As for outside the movie, humph. If he dares to bully me, I'll just go and become his aunt and use my seniority to suppress him. After saying so, Both Ning Xi and Lu Tingxiao were in a daze. Ning Xi hated that she couldn't slam her head into the ground. Why couldn't she hold back this drat loose mouth? Chapter 82, You Want to Leave? Ning Xi quickly placed food in his bowl as if her life depended on it. Hee, I was just joking. Please don't mind it. Lu Tingxiao looked as if he wasn't angry at all, and was actually in a rather good mood. His lips curled up as he said, "Good idea." Ning Xi was flabbergasted. He actually thought that it was a good idea. Ning Xi. Lu Tingxiao suddenly looked at her seriously. She became nervous after getting stared at by those deep eyes. What? If you change your mind, you can look for me anytime. Lu Tingxiao said. Hearing this, Ning Xi's heart thumped. She knew he was referring to the marriage proposal. Although Lu Tingxiao had not mentioned it again since the last time she had clearly rejected him, but she could feel that Lu Tingxiao's attitude towards her was different from the start. Furthermore, the air between them had become even more ambiguous. The worst part was her heart had actually been slowly getting out of her control. Perhaps it was like Zhang Muye had said, that she had been mesmerized by his good looks? Ever since that incident 5 years ago, she had thought that she would never love anyone ever again. There had even been a long period of time where she had had a huge problem with her psyche. She had been extremely disgusted by men and found herself biased against them, especially when she saw bastards. She would lose control of herself, and her heart would be filled with the desire to mete out heavenly punishment on them. Although her mental state had balanced out a lot over the past few years, she would still reject the notion of getting close to men. Finding someone to marry was a complete fantasy that wouldn't come true to her. However, this man in front of her, who always had an expressionless face on as if his facial nerves were paralyzed. This man who had a terrifying aura, who quite frequently made her feel fear, had unwittingly opened a crack in the thick shell of her heart. After they finished eating the hot pot, Little Treasure was so tired that he fell asleep while they were halfway home. Ning Xi hugged that soft little child in her embrace and couldn't bear to let go of him. Ah, what a terrible situation! The big bun was already making her confused, and now there was a little bun. She found that she was starting to love the little bun even more as they spent time together. It was to the point that she would start to miss him if she didn't see him for a day. If she didn't hug him today, she would feel that there was something missing. This wasn't a very good sign. Pub Future ads. When they reached home, Ning Xi carefully carried the little guy into his room. Lu Tingxiao leaned sideways on the doorjamb, his gaze warm. "I've troubled you these few days." Ning Xi covered Little Treasure with the blanket before walking out. "It's no trouble, I like Little Treasure a lot." After hesitating for quite long, she showed a gratified expression and smiled. "Little Treasure is getting better and better. It looks like I won't need to stay here anymore soon." Lu Tingxiao's expression abruptly sunk. "You want to leave?" Ning Xi retreated a step, intimidated by his sharp gaze. "That I was supposed to leave once Little Treasure recovered anyway. I'll feel bad if I intrude for so long." "Lu Tingxiao, you're not intruding." Ning Xi had no choice but to raise her head and stare straight into his eyes with a bright gaze. "I'll feel trapped." Lu Tingxiao's brows knitted tightly together. "Trapped?" "Yes." Ning Xi took a deep breath before speaking. "To be honest, I'm not a very disciplined person. While staying here, I feel like I have to watch my actions and words at all times." "Lu Tingxiao, you don't have to mind them." Ning Xi held her forehead and said helplessly, "Fine, even if you don't mind, I need to have my privacy. I'll bring my friends home to play occasionally, or I'll need to relax a little after work. I might ride my bike, crawl through the bars and hotels, and if I meet a good-looking guy who fits my type, I might even bring him over for the night." "Enough." As he kept listening, Lu Tingxiao's expression turned uglier and uglier until he finally couldn't resist interrupting her. Chapter 83, Kissed Awake. Late in the night, Ning Xi was lying in bed with a million thoughts running through her head. She wouldn't bring handsome guys home. All of them would attempt to fool around with her anyways, and all those who tried would end up getting beaten up in an alleyway. Especially when she saw married men with ring marks on their fingers, she would beat them until they cried for their mothers. As for her sex life, plainly speaking, it was a tragedy. The only time she had ever done it was that night 5 years ago. It was most likely the shadow of her first time affecting her. She always felt disgust towards sex. Lu Tingxiao had been provoked beyond his limit tonight. However, she had no other choice. She would have to eventually bring up the topic of leaving anyway, why not do so and leave before she could no longer control the situation? Leaving him first was always better than watching him leave when the ugliest parts of her past were bared before him. Her unstable emotions caused all sorts of messy nightmares to haunt her in her sleep. In the blurry dreamscape, various voices were screaming by her ears. Ning Xi, what right do you have to fight with me? Other than being related by blood, you're just a good-for-nothing with nothing to her name. You still have the guts to ask about that bastard? What are you trying to do? Don't tell me you were planning to give birth to him and raise him. The child was born premature and died when he was born. I've already taken care of the corpse. Ning Xi, I'm telling you. From now on, I, Ning Yehua, no longer have a daughter like you. You're no longer related to our Ning family. Xiao Xi, I'm sorry, let's break up. I won't stop caring for you, I'll treat you like my dear little sister. She ran with all her might, running and running, trying to leave those terrible voices. She ran to the roof of the hospital, and there was a bottomless abyss below. That abyss seemed to hold some devilish attraction, pulling her to move forward, step by step. Finally, she closed her eyes and jumped. In the instant she jumped, she wasn't shocked awake like usual, but she fell into a charming and gentle dream. This time, it wasn't a nightmare, but a lustful dream. She had had these kinds of dreams in the past, but they had always been accompanied by overwhelming fear and helplessness. However, it seemed to be different this time. One by one, cool kisses rained down on her forehead, eyes, nose, and her lips. Pub Future ads. She didn't feel the disgust and dirtiness she usually felt, but instead, felt like she was treated like the most precious thing in the world. Who was he? Ah, that hurt. Why did he bite her? As much as Lu Tingxiao was trying to restrain himself, he finally couldn't resist and walked into her room. Although he knew that he shouldn't wake her, his actions had unconsciously taken on a ruthless tint. This woman could always push him to lose control so easily. If I meet a good-looking guy who fits my type, I might even bring him over for the night. That phrase was like a planet that had come crashing in at high speed, crushing his rationality into dust. When his lips and tongue slid past the girl's smooth and soft neck, he could no longer hold back the rising lust in his chest. He bit down fiercely, using the most primitive method to mark out his prey like a beast. That! In the instant that the smell of blood rose in the air, a girl's weak voice resounded by his ears. Lu Tingxiao's back stiffened, and his entire person was frozen, as if someone had just taken a basin of cold water and poured it on him. The man's head was still buried in the hollow of her neck. The pain on her neck almost made Ning Xi scream out loud, but she could only bear with it. She awkwardly reminded, that. I was only sleeping, but I wasn't dead asleep. Your actions were so. I couldn't help but wake up. She had been planning to pretend to be asleep at first, but she couldn't go on in the end. It was too painful. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's unfathomable eyes had already melded with the dark of the night. He slowly raised his head, his gaze locked onto her as he held her chin with his finger. He stroked it gently, his tone like an incubus that had come from hell as he said, so you woke up. So what? Just as he finished speaking, he pulled her hands above her head and pressed them down, before stooping down and kissing her lips without hesitation. Chapter 84, Maybe he's sleepwalking? Ning Xi subconsciously wanted to struggle free, but her hands were locked and her legs were suppressed by the man's knees. She looked completely like she was begging for it. What kind of tragic situation was this? Maybe she was still dreaming and she still hadn't woken up? It wasn't until Ning Xi slowly ran out of breath and was on her last gasp of air that Liu Tingxiao finally let go of her lips. He moved to the part of her neck he had just bitten, and then that burning hot tongue moved back and forth over the wound, as if soothing it. But only made Ning Xi even more horrified. "Hey, Liu Tingxiao! Liu Tingxiao!" Ning Xi called to him a few times, but the other seemed to have no reaction other than getting busy all over her body. There was no trace of the usual restrained gentleman, and the warmth she was familiar with. Those sharp teeth moved with his desire and slid from her neck to her collarbones, and moved even lower. No, no. The memories that had been hibernating in her mind sprung up suddenly, flooding her mind. They swept her along and threatened to bury her like a sticky swamp, causing her entire body to tremble uncontrollably. Just as Ning Xi was starting to wish she were dead, all movement on her body stopped, leaving just that heavy and hard body pressing down on hers without movement, like a mountain. That feeling of suffocation slowly faded away, leaving only blank confusion in her heart. Liu Tingxiao. Ning Xi tried to pat the man's shoulder, but there was no reaction at all. After waiting for a few more seconds and seeing that the other wasn't moving at all, Ning Xi carefully tried to flip him over to the side with gentle movements. Borrowing the moonlight streaming through the window, she saw that the man was calmly lying there with his eyes closed, like a sleeping king, as if that terrifying beast of a man just now hadn't been him. What in the world was going on? Don't tell me he was sleepwalking. Ning Xi mumbled to herself. It seemed like only that explanation fit. However, wasn't the way he sleepwalked completely novel? He came to her room in the middle of the night and started biting on her like a vampire. He even managed to hold a conversation with her just now, as if he wasn't sleepwalking. Liu Tingxiao's breathing was even and deep, it looked as if he had fallen asleep. Pub future ads. Ning Xi didn't dare to wake him, worried that he would go crazy again. However, she didn't feel safe leaving him here like this either. Who could she call for help this late at night? After thinking back and forth, she finally thought of someone. Picking up her phone, she called Liu Jingli. "Hello, Xiao Zixi. Wow! You're actually calling me this late at night. What happened, what happened?" Liu Jingli was very loud, as if he was shouting into the phone. Ning Xi had at first been worried that she would be disturbing him by calling this late at night. However, on the other side of the line, Liu Jingli's voice was so energetic and there was a lot of noise coming from the background. From the sound of it, he was holding a party. "Liu Jingli, I need to ask you something." Ask away, ask away." "Your brother. What's up? What's up with my brother? Was this guy a repeater? Why did he have to say everything twice?" Ning Xi was speechless for a moment before anxiously asking, "Does your brother sleepwalk?" While on the phone, Ning Xi didn't notice that the man who was lying down straight by her side stiffened imperceptibly after she asked that question. He had just thought of this idea on the spot to get out of the awkward situation. He hadn't thought that Ning Xi would actually call Liu Jingli. What if that stupid fellow gave his ploy away? Then he would only have to break his legs. Chapter 85, Sharing the Bed. On the other end of the phone, Liu Jingli suddenly went silent for a couple of seconds, making Ning Xi feel even more agitated. She urgently asked again, "Second young master. Does he or does he not?" It wasn't a big problem if he was just sleepwalking, but on the off chance that Liu Tingxiao had some other sickness, she had to quickly send him to the hospital. It was really scary that he had suddenly turned into a pervert in the middle of the night and then abruptly knocked out, All right? Ah, I just found it a little odd that you would suddenly ask this. He actually does have such a problem. How did you find out that my brother sleepwalks? Liu Jingli replied, his tone seemingly normal. After hearing that, Ning Xi finally heaved a sigh of relief. She sounded relaxed as she laughed, it's nothing much. I was thirsty in the middle of the night, so I came downstairs to drink some water, and I saw him standing in the middle of the living room staring blankly. He gave me a fright, that's all. Oh yeah. Liu Jingli's tone sounded contemplative. He then spoke earnestly, it's no big deal, it's just an old problem. Don't mind him and just let him continue doing whatever he's doing. Be sure to avoid waking him up. He'll go back to his room on his own. Ah? Let him continue, and don't wake him up? Then, all right, I got it. Anxious that Liu Jingli would detect that something was off, Ning Xi hurriedly hung up the call. With a headache, she looked at Liu Tingxiao who was lying down next to her. To avoid waking him up, did she really have to let him lie here like this? What if he started sleepwalking again? She was going to drown in worry. Because of this sudden, unforeseen development, the all-encompassing panic she had experienced earlier had already completely disappeared without a trace. She looked at the man sleeping completely unaware by her side. The more she looked, the angrier she got. Finally, as if to vent her anger, she reached out and pinched his face. You bastard, you're sleeping so comfortably. I was nearly scared to an early death by you. Even after being pinched like mad, Liu Tingxiao was still quite obedient and looked completely harmless. She pinched him quite a few times before she was satisfied and withdrew her hand. It looked like she could only wait for him to leave on his own now. She had heard that if people in the middle of sleepwalking were woken up, they could suffer a huge shock and possibly even drop dead. She was clearly the one who had suffered the bigger shock though. Ning Xi had originally planned to wait for Liu Tingxiao to leave before going back to sleep, but she unintentionally fell asleep while listening to the steady heartbeat by her ear. After a long time, the man next to her slowly opened his inky black eyes, revealing an expression of relief. Pub future ads. Then he absent-mindedly watched the girl and used his finger to gently touch her faintly knitted brows with a complicated look on his face. The next morning, Ning Xi was woken up by a phone call. Rather than picking up the phone, her first reaction was to turn her head over to look at her side. Sure enough, Liu Tingxiao had already left. Afterwards, she dazedly groped for the phone and pressed the accept button. A second later, a furious voice immediately sounded through the phone. Ning Xi, you've really done it now. I've been warning you since the start to be careful about your words and actions and to avoid embarrassing the company, but look at you. Right now, everyone in the company has lost face because of you. Ning Xi immediately woke up. What happened? Chong Li spoke unhappily. Take a look for yourself on Weibo. Ning Xi climbed out of bed and quickly turned on the computer to log into her Weibo. Then she realized her Weibo had exploded. The Weibos of most actors were typically taken care of by their management. Of course, Ning Xi didn't get that treatment. She hadn't bought any followers or launched any campaigns. On Weibo, she only had a little over 30,000 fans. She couldn't even match up to an internet celebrity. Normally, she enjoyed sharing some tidbits about her daily life, but the number of comments and likes had never surpassed 100. However, right now, over 10,000 mentions and comments had suddenly appeared overnight. After scheming as quickly as possible over these messages, she finally realized what had happened. Chapter 86, Let the Storm Rage Even Harder. Ning Xi's reputation had been dragged through the mud, and very miserably at that. Yesterday in the middle of the night, a popular tabloid blogger on Weibo had published a long post. The title was The Story of How the Scheming Bitch Ning Xi Got to the Top, an Unprecedentedly Shameless Person. The summary of the content was that she had slept with the director to get her role, and had gone around seducing wealthy old men to trick them into giving her gifts. She had even deliberately taken advantage of Zhang Wei while filming. The post even said that when she was on set, her room door was always open. Anyone who wanted to sleep with her could walk right in and sleep with her. It made her sound like a total whore who was extremely easy and completely lacked any moral boundaries. This made Zhang Wei's fans explode. They banded up to protest that their idol had been paired up with a woman like that and angrily demanded that the production crew change the second female lead. The comments on Ning Xi's most recent post were simply unbearable to look at. It was completely filled with angry curses. Everyone was yelling, "Ning Xi, get out from the entertainment industry. Have you seen it clearly now? Post a statement of apology to redeem the company's image right now." Chang Li angrily spat out an order. Ning Xi sneered, "A statement of apology?" Normally, when actors who were signed to a company encountered a situation like this, the company would organize a special public relations team to emphasize the actor's innocence and perform damage control. Chang Li, on the other hand, as if Chang Li really wanted her to redeem the company's image. Chang Li was only trying to thoroughly discredit her. Apologizing would make it seem like she was admitting to everything that was written in that blog. That's right. I had better see it before 8 p.m. tonight. It would be best if it was a video since that looks more sincere. Otherwise, just wait till you're kicked out of the cast. When the time comes, even the company won't be able to protect you. After Chang Li issued this threat, she ruthlessly hung up the phone with a smack. After this call, Ning Xi was wide awake. She had anticipated a situation like this long ago, but she hadn't expected that the other party would act this quickly. It looked like Jia Qingqing couldn't even wait another second. With Ning Xueluo adding fuel to the flame, she had been thrown into a raging storm over the course of a single night. Very well. Bring it on. She had actually been worried that they wouldn't make a move. Ning Xi immediately got out of bed and washed up. Afterwards, she took out her cosmetic products and began to apply her makeup. After half an hour, she looked at her face in the mirror. After putting on makeup, she had become haggard and pale, yet sweetly pitiful. She nodded her head in satisfaction. Pub Future ads. Right after she cleaned up the table, there was a knock on the door. Ning Xi stood up to open the door. Afterwards, she stared blankly. It was yesterday's pervert, Lu Tingxiao. After the events of last night, she actually felt a little weird looking at him now. Without waiting for Ning Xi to speak, Lu Tingxiao saw her incomparably pale and haggard complexion and his expression immediately became incomparably ice-cold. Without another word, he picked up his phone and started to search for a contact. Out of the corner of her eyes, Ning Xi saw his finger stop at the name Liang Feixing. Liang Feixing was the director of public relations at Golden Age Entertainment. He had a pair of magic hands that had beautifully resolved the scandals of many actors and restored their reputations. He could be considered a model example for any public relations manager. When Ning Xi saw this, she immediately reacted. Like a tiger, she lunged forward and snatched Lu Tingxiao's phone. Lu Tingxiao, what are you doing? Settling the matter. Lu Tingxiao's complexion was extremely ugly, making it obvious that he had also found about the matter on the internet. Ning Xi helplessly looked at her opponent, Big Boss, who wanted to help her cheat her way out without saying a single word. The last time, when Lu Tingxiao had acted without a word and ordered Su Yumo's personal stylist to help her out, she had already been shocked enough. At least no one had found out. If he did something like that again, she really wouldn't be able to endure it. If Golden Age Entertainment suddenly intervened under these crazy circumstances, she was going to get another label of being a traitor who was two-timing on the two companies. Chapter 87, You Need a Woman. Ning Xi spoke in a light tone, if I can't even handle little problems like these, how will I survive in the entertainment industry? Didn't you tell me previously that you believed in me? Well, your current appearance doesn't look very convincing. Lu Tingxiao's expression was grave. Ning Xi was puzzled by his words until she remembered the makeup on her face. She explained, I made my skin this pale and drew these dark eye bags on myself. I'm really not pretending to be strong. I can take off my makeup if you don't believe me. Before she finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao suddenly reached out and his fingertips softly grazed against her cheeks and eyes. Although it was only a light touch, Ning Xi looked as if she had been shocked by electricity. She couldn't help but tremble a bit. Ning Xi's reaction caused Lu Tingxiao's face to darken slightly. He quickly retracted his hand and spoke, "You're not allowed to push yourself." Ning Xi smiled in reply, "I won't. If I can't deal with this, I'll definitely fly back here and hug your leg." Having been soothed, Lu Tingxiao relaxed somewhat. Okay. Following that, Ning Xi scratched her head as she looked at him, looking like she wanted to speak but was holding back. "Did you want to say something?" Lu Tingxiao asked in a gentle tone, as if the person last night had been a completely different person. Ning Xi stared at him with a complicated expression for a long time. Finally, she couldn't help but speak up, Lu Tingxiao, have you ever thought of finding a woman to keep you company? What are you trying to say?" Lu Tingxiao's expression immediately turned cold. "Don't blame me for sticking my nose into your business. I just think," Ning Xi considered her words carefully and then patted his shoulders with sincerity, "I think you may need a woman. For some matters, restraining yourself isn't good for your health. Wasn't there a common saying that went, one dreams at night what one thinks during the day?" On the surface, Lu Tingxiao didn't appear to be fazed by a woman's charms, but judging from his display last night, he clearly, really seemed to need it. At this point, Lu Tingxiao's expression was completely dark. "Damned woman, who do you think is at fault here? Who do you think is forcing me to restrain myself so miserably when the treat is already so temptingly close?" Pub Future Ads. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao's complexion was worsening, Ning Xi coughed awkwardly and quickly slipped away. "Since time is running out, I'll go say goodbye to Little Treasure and head off to the set. Bye-bye." At the movie city on the outskirts of the capital. Just as Ning Xi appeared, a crowd of Zhang Weiy's fans waiting by the entrance immediately rushed toward her with fury. "Ning Xi! Ning Xi has arrived! That damn prostitute has arrived! She actually dared to appear! Evil bitch! You're not allowed to get close to Weiyai! Hurry up and get lost from this production! Ning Xi, get lost from this production! Ning Xi, get lost from the entertainment industry! Get lost from here!" The scene was filled with chaos. Only a few security guards protected Ning Xi as she walked inside. The rest of the production crew stood around and watched the show. From time to time, they would point at her and laugh while sneering with laughter. Those stares were like daggers, cutting into her one by one. Those looks of malice were like a fierce and ferocious viper trying to tear her into shreds. Ning Xi couldn't help but recall that back in the day, there was a really popular female celebrity who had ultimately been forced to commit suicide due to gossip. After she died, her suicide note contained only 5 words, "Gossip is a dreadful thing." The crowd continuously threw rotten eggs and spoiled vegetables. Some random person even threw a rock, although the rock was thrown askew. When she saw that the rock was going to hit the makeup artist Amy, who was currently spectating, Ning Xi's expression changed and she quickly leapt forward. Right as the rock reached half a meter from Amy, she used her arm to block it. In the next second, the part of her arm that had been hit was drenched with blood. Chapter 88, A Tyrant Flower. When the riled-up crowd saw this scene, they were all struck dumb. Even Amy was scared witless. With a pale face, Ning Xi swept an ice-cold glance across those fans. "You guys can make a commotion if you want, come at me. Don't hurt innocent bystanders. Stop pretending to be good. That's right. Don't pretend to be a good person. You're just a shameless vixen." Ning Xi's look turned even sharper, what determines whether I'm a good person or not? An internet post without evidence to back it up? Or a rumor based on groundless accusations? Even though you are all still young, I still hope you can all use your brains before taking action. Idols are the ones who have to pay for the conduct of their fans. Your words and actions will represent your idol. Don't allow yourselves to be ignorantly used by others and mar your idol's reputation for no good reason. Ning Xi knew that at this moment, nothing she said would get through to them except mentioning their precious idol. When was it your turn to lecture us? Actually, I think she has a point. The one who just threw that rock, step out. Didn't we agree that we wouldn't resort to violence and using eggs would be the limit? That's right. Who was it? We came to ask for justice, not to mar Muye's reputation. The rioting fans temporarily calmed down, and Ning Xi was finally able to squeeze into the production set. When Guo Qixin saw that she had arrived, he immediately called her into the lounge. Ning Xi, you've come. Hurry and sit down. Director, I'm sorry for creating so much trouble for the production team. Ning Xi had a guilty expression as she bowed deeply. When he saw how haggard the girl looked, Guo Qixin quickly comforted her, "You're not the one creating trouble. How could I not be aware that other people are trying to ruin you? Just based on that line about you having no acting skill, that's simply nonsense. As for saying that you slept with members of the production team, how could I not know the truth as one of the ones implicated in the rumor? I've seen plenty of matters like this before. I'm clear on who's right or wrong." "Thank you, Director." The fact that Guo Qixin was standing on her side in this sort of situation really made her grateful. "However, this matter has really affected you too much. Just look at your haggard complexion. Why don't you take a couple of days off to recover?" Guo Qixin proposed. Ning Xi immediately responded, "No need. Director, I want to continue shooting. My situation has already inconvenienced the production team enough. If this delays the production's filming schedule even more, I really won't be able to live with myself." Guo Qixin saw her determination and showed a grateful expression. All right then. If you reach your limit, you have to let me know." Pub Future Ads. When she came out of her meeting with the director, a strong force suddenly pulled Ning Xi into a secluded corner. That person's face was full of worry and even his head of golden hair looked listless. "Ning Xi, is your arm okay?" "It's a small injury. It has already been treated." Ning Xi spoke lightly. Zhang Muye's face was filled with anger. "I was going to issue a statement to explain to my fans, but Ming Ji changed my Weibo password and wouldn't let me log in. He said that I would make things worse for you if I did anything right now." Ning Xi patted her chest and showed a glad expression. "Lucky Ming Ji has intelligence unlike some people." Zhang Muye immediately looked hurt. "You ungrateful woman, I was just trying to help you out." Ning Xi replied helplessly, "If you really want to help me, then let me give you a heads up. In a moment, I'm going to pretend to be an innocent flower. Just act along with me, and don't you dare act recklessly. Otherwise, don't blame me for really breaking off all relation with you." Zhang Muye scratched his ear and looked rather doubtful. "What did you say you were going to pretend to be? An innocent flower? Is there any problem? Are you sure a tyrant flower like you can complete such a difficult challenge? Get lost." Chapter 89, The fun is just getting started. Coincidentally, most of Ning Xi's scenes were scenes where she would act as Jia Qingqing's adversary. As she reviewed the script under the shade of a tree, a sarcastic voice suddenly traveled to her ears. "Yo, isn't this our big star? Ning Xi, you've really become famous. Everyone knows your name now. Hehe, and they know of all the scandalous things you've done. You're so shameless, you actually dared to come back on set after creating a situation like this." Jia Qingqing gloated at Ning Xi's misfortune. As long as Ning Xi was forced out of the production, she would be able to take Ning Xi's place and act with Muye Gaig. Ning Xi bit her lip, her body trembling, as she remained silent with a pitiful expression. Jia Qingqing was even more pleased with herself when she saw Ning Xi's appearance. She neared Zhang Weie and spoke coyly, "Weie Gage, you should stay further away from people like her. Otherwise, she will ruin your reputation. You've already starting to lose fans thanks to her." When Jia Qingqing approached, a strong smell of perfume immediately floated over. Veins bulged on Zhang Weie's forehead. He wanted to flare up on the spot, but after remembering Ning Xi's warning, he took a deep breath and forced himself to endure. Seeing that Zhang Weie had ignored her, Jia Qingqing assumed that getting involved in a situation like this had put him in a bad mood. She comforted him considerately, "Weie Gage, you can rest assured. The production crew will give in to the pressure and replace Ning Xi sooner or later." "You're so noisy." Zhang Weie had to completely exhaust his self-control in order to hold back all of his curses and spit out those 3 words. "I'm sorry Weie Gage, I won't disturb your rest anymore." Jia Qingqing left, looking rather wronged. She wasn't happy about how Zhang Weie still treated her as coldly as ever, but after some thought, she quickly got over it. In any case, when she became the second female lead, she would have plenty of opportunities to interact with Weie Gage. She couldn't help but feel excited, thinking about those intimate scenes. On another note, why had the director asked her to continue filming scenes with Ning Xi? This was such a waste of time. However, she did quite like the scenes they were filming today. One of them was a scene where she got to slap Ning Xi on the face. Humph, when the time came, she would make sure Ning Xi was humiliated. "Director, I think that for this scene, the result will be better if I really slap her. What do you think?" Jia Qingqing, who had never been conscientious about filming before, took the rare initiative to discuss the scene with the director. Pub Future ads. How could Guo Qishan not know what she was thinking? He spoke seriously, "The main point is to use the camera angles. At most, it's enough to touch the face a little." "Got it." Jia Qingqing agreed verbally, but had absolutely no plans of obeying. She decided to do a real slap, and to slap a couple more times at that to let that slut suffer some more. It wasn't as if this was the first time she had taken revenge through her work, and she had been successful every time. After everyone had finished preparing, the filming began. In this scene, Meng Chang'e had just entered the palace under the alias Nan Mu Meng. She was still only a small little palace maid, but because the emperor had given her a second glance, concubine Xian became jealous and called her to the Qin palace to give her a hard time. "Shameless slut, you actually dared to seduce the emperor right under my nose." Concubine Xian stopped talking and threw a slap. The moment Jia Qingqing made a move, Ning Xi narrowed her eyes and leaned slightly to the side, cleverly evading the camera and dodging Jia Qingqing's hand. However, on the surface she appeared to have received an forceful hit and her entire person was thrown miserably onto the ground. Afterwards, she turned her face to the side and spat out a mouthful of blood. Ning Xi Guo Qishan jumped up in surprise. All the other production crew members who were watching also suffered a shock and gathered around her one after another. "Jia Qingqing, is this your first day filming? You can't even control your own strength." Guo Qishan was usually very even-tempered, but this time, he had really lost his temper. He couldn't interfere in matters that took place outside of filming, but he absolutely would not put up with despicable acts like this during on his set. Jia Qingqing had gotten scared herself. She had deliberately used some force earlier, but it definitely wasn't enough to throw Ning Xi to the ground and cause her to spit up blood. Not only that, she had clearly sensed that Ning Xi had dodged just now. Simply put, she hadn't even touched Ning Xi. Thus, she cried out in protest and disbelief, "I only slapped her lightly, I hardly used any force. She's putting on an act." Chapter 90, Playing an Innocent Flower. However, with Jia Qingqing's terrible reputation in the industry and her history of similar incidents, combined with her undisguised antagonism towards Ning Xi, no one believed her. Director, I'm fine. I just have a cut in my mouth, it'll be alright after I apply some ice to it. King Kingji was most likely just trying to make the scene look even more real, so don't get angry. Ning Xi's expression showed that she had suffered unrightfully but was trying to bear with it. She looked like she was trying to endure silently with understanding. With that expression, even the rest of the crowd felt some sympathy towards her, let alone the director. Zhang Huiye was watching from the side as the corner of his mouth twitched crazily. He was almost shocked to death. This fellow was pretty good at playing an innocent flower. Jia Qingqing looked at her delicate appearance, and was instantly furious. Ning Xi, you're still pretending. You clearly did it on purpose. You bit yourself. Did you hide some blood capsules in your mouth beforehand? Pub Future ads. Jia Qingqing, that's enough from you. Guo Qishan admonished fiercely. The assistant by Jia Qingqing's side hurriedly pulled her back and persuaded, Qingqingji, forget about it. Don't make the director angry. We're in the wrong for this incident. She clearly thought that Jia Qingqing had done it on purpose. She had seen too many incidents like this while following at Jia Qingqing's side. Jia Qingqing turned back and slapped the assistant on her face, scram. When has it ever been your place to command me? The assistant fell to the floor after getting hit, just like Ning Xi had. There was even blood coming out from the corner of her mouth. The production crew surrounding them, especially those whose positions weren't very high like the assistants, hurried forward to help the assistant up. Their expressions when looking at Jia Qingqing were full of disgust. Although Ning Xi had a messy personal life, she had never let it affect anyone else. She was respectful and professional while filming. However, Jia Qingqing was a complete shrew. It was the first time Jia Qingqing had been falsely accused. Seeing that no one believed her, her face turned red, as if she was about to faint from anger in the next second. Pub Future ads. Pub Future ads. Just as she was about to lose control and attack Ning Xi without caring for her image, someone stepped out to pull on her wrist. Qingqing, I know you wanted to impress the director, but you didn't have to take it so far. Those in the know would say that you're dedicated to your work, but how would others think of you? The one who spoke up was Ning Xueluo, who had just rushed over. Ning Xueluo didn't have any scenes today, she didn't have to come, but for the sake of seeing Ning Xi in trouble, she had still come to the set. She hadn't thought that this was what she would see upon arriving. What was this Jia Qingqing doing? It had been such a great opportunity, but she had let it play out this way? Seeing that the crowd was about to sympathize with Ning Xi due to their extreme hatred for Jia Qingqing, Ning Xueluo hurriedly went up to help her out of her predicament. Jia Qingqing reacted as if she had just seen her family upon seeing Ning Xueluo. She immediately held onto her and cried as she complained, Xueluo-ji, this bitch is trying to slander me. Afraid that Jia Qingqing would annoy even more people if she continued talking, Ning Xueluo pulled her into a corner. Why couldn't you hold on for a while longer? Ning Xi will be chased off sooner or later, what are you doing picking fights with her at this time? Jia Qingqing anxiously said, I wanted to teach her a lesson at first, but I didn't even touch her at all. She just dodged and acted as if I hit her so hard that she spat out blood. Ning Xueluo took one look at the director reassuring Ning Xi, who was putting on a generous air, and could immediately tell what kind of act she was trying to pull. She hurriedly tried to think of a way to save the situation and said, Qingqing, it's not enough that I believe you. The problem is that everyone doesn't believe you. Even if you explain the situation, it won't help. The best way to get out of this mess is to apologize to Ning Xi immediately. Jia Qingqing exploded upon hearing this. What? You want me to apologize to her? No way. Xueluo-ji, how could you stand on her side and speak for her?